Dear Americans and other folks, welcome to the newest episode of the Realm Podcast. Today, this world is going crazy, and so it gives me a lot to talk about, a lot to set straight, and we are starting with James Talarico and Raphael Warnock, which are two Democrats running for office. One already is a senator, and James Talarico is running in Texas. He's a self-proclaimed Christian and quotes a lot of the Bible. And why do I want to talk about them? Because they kind of are, I would call them Bible benders. So they tweak things or interpret things that are definitely falsely interpreted just to fit their narrative. They're pick and choose Christians where they're like, oh, I like this, I'll take it. Well, don't like that, so I'll twist another thing that is not even there, or I claim there's a quote that doesn't even exist, which Talarico does. And he seems very nice and well-spoken, but he's definitely a sheep in wolf's clothing, the other way around, a wolf in sheep's clothing. And this guy, dude, First thing I want to point out is that he argued God was non-binary.
The first two lines of the Bible, the first two lines in Genesis, use two different Hebrew words to describe God. One is the masculine Hebrew noun for divinity. The second is the feminine Hebrew noun for spirit. God is both masculine and feminine and everything in between. God is non-binary.
Because, and this is wild, the Hebrew word Elohim is like God is masculine, but the Hebrew word for spirit, ruach, is grammatically feminine, and that's why God would be non-binary. Like, what kind of bogus claim is that? It's just wild. Like, dude, we call him the Father. Like, since when is a father non-binary? We call him he. I am he. Like, come on. Like, it is just wild what these people try in order to, convince Christians that they should vote for them or that they're good people, and they try to, get everyone in their tent, but they just can't. And you can't just be a pick and choose Christian. Like, you either are full on or you're not, but you can't be like, oh, I like this part of the Bible, I don't like that part of the Bible. Then you are not a Christian, because everyone will find some values or some commandments that he likes. That doesn't make you a Christian. And you also obviously have to have true faith. King, Lord, God, and Son, those are all masculine. And also, Genesis, humans were made male and female. So there's nothing in between. There's male and female. And that's Genesis. So it's a bunch of bogus, and he is basically a false teacher. And there's way more. He also has an argument for abortion. He says Mary's consent to, birth Jesus would have been kind of like an equivalent of, oh, you want the kid or you want to abort it. And it was a unique call to bear the Messiah, and there was no, oh, do you want to? No, God, let me think about it. Oh, yeah, I want to. Like, that wasn't up for debate. You're like, there you go. You bear the Messiah. Good luck. It's just wild. And to use that as a argument for abortion, He knew you even before you were born, even before you were in the womb. You were already, a human, God's child. So as soon as you evaporate and eliminate that, you killed and you eliminated a life. And God already knew you. So you killed someone that God already knew. And you can say, there's no argument for abortion. You can stand on it wherever you like as a person. I obviously think there is no argument for it. When I was not really a Christian, I would also think yeah, it's tough and I can understand, but you can't right a wrong with another wrong. Meaning, even if it was rape, and rape is only a 1% of the cases, not even in the United States. The other million babies are killed without any rape happening, right? So, but even then, obviously it's tough, and I don't want to be in the woman's shoes, but the correct thing would still be to save that life, because you were abused. Does that give you a right to eliminate that life that came from it? And does it make it right to eliminate that life that came from it? And killing is always wrong. So eliminating an innocent life is always wrong. And yeah, it will require a lot of suffering, maybe, for that woman. It doesn't make it right. It makes it more understandable than just using it as a contraceptive, of course, which some women do. That's terrible. So James Talarico is definitely not consistent on that. You can agree with him, but you can't be a real Christian agreeing with him. You cannot be a Christian and be for abortion. That just doesn't work. You can't that's a pick and choose Christian. Also, Talarico always says Jesus never talked about abortion. There's a prohibition against murder, the value of children, the value of human life. The next case would be James Talarico is very pro-trans, very pro-LGBTQIA plus community. It is right now, I think. If I got I don't even know what this letter stand for. Q is my where it ends for me. I don't know what IA plus probably means all the other letters in the alphabet that right now are in it, because there's so many you can't even account for it. And Talarico has just argued that trans children are God's children, made in God's image.
Trans children are God's children, made in God's own image. There's nothing wrong with them. Nothing at all. They are perfect, they are beautiful, and they are sacred. Bullying children is immoral. It's a sin, a special kind of sin.
When if they're made in God's image, why do they want to change God's image then? And undo what God did? That makes no sense right there. You go against God if you do that, basically. So how's that an argument for it? It makes just no sense. None. So yeah. Again, Genesis 1:27, God created them male and female. What do you want to say? And exceptions are called exceptions because they're not the rule. So if you say something is an exception, you admit that there's a rule and the exception is not the rule. So if you say 1 out of a million has some defect, and just by calling it defect, you say it's not the rule and it's not correct. Yeah. So And the next guy was Raphael Warnock from where is he from? Georgia, I think. I mean, this guy is also totally nuts. He's also like very pro-abortion, and yeah, he just I don't know how he argues pro-abortion. Like, how could you argue pro-abortion? You know, in Psalm, it's like, you knit me together in my mother's womb. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, as I mentioned before. Jeremiah 1:15, 1:5. And the commandment again, you shall not murder. But Warnock is pro-abortion, and there's a video of his that I wanna play. He says, it's a commitment to the most marginalized members of the family. He says, being pro-abortion, the most marginalized members of the family would not be the women. It would be the unborn child, dude. Because that child, literally in our society, has no right at all. That is the most marginalized. This unborn child is living already, and it's in the mother's womb, and it's living after contraception, and it's living even before, because God knew him or her already before he or her was in the womb. So how can you say that this would not be the most marginalized we have to protect? Because they can't speak for themselves. They can't articulate themselves. They can't fight. They have no physical ability right now. My favorite argument for saying, oh, but it's the woman's body is, oh, so okay. So if a female is pregnant with a male child, do you have a penis? Right? Because you don't have a penis, because it's not you. It's not your body. There's another body in your body. And it is not your body. It is not you. So it is not just you right there. It is not your choice. And it shouldn't be. It's in there for a reason. Wait for it, press it out, and then you can hand it over to someone else if you don't like it. I mean, I'm also not for that, but at least you don't kill. You know? So, and you might give someone who's desperately wanting to care for a child a chance to care for a child. And the argument that this child will have a bad life is like the worst argument ever. Because is it then also okay to just kill every poor child? Everyone like in Africa who's starving? Let's kill them all because they have a bad life. They probably have a bad life, so you'd rather kill them before they're even born. There's also children that are adopted or that go through foster care that turn out to be great people and great, disciples, great people that do a lot for society, that are a greater good for society, that are a greater good for everyone around them, that are like God-loving people, and you just want to take away their chance even. You're not to decide. You can't decide over that. You're playing God right there if you want to decide over people's life because they might not have it as good, but maybe not, but probably. So you just like, okay, we just kill them because probably they're not going to have a good life. So are we just going to nuke very bad neighborhoods now? Because probably most of them have a bad life. Let's just nuke them, right? Total BS argument, the worst argument ever. But, you know, these people are just selfish that argue for it. This is just what they are. That was our false teachers, Raphael Warnock and James Talarico. So really be careful when you listen to them and how they argue and how they not argue, and if they're consistent. Because I think it is one thing to have a view I don't agree with, but using God to justify whatever you think is right, and you're just using him, and you're not honest. That's worse than just being wrong. Like, using God for your own purpose and abusing him is worse than not being a Christian at all and just be wrong. The justification through God, a false justification through God, is worse than being atheist, because that's bigger blasphemy. Yeah. So I think, it's crazy. Also, like, if you, to be real honest, like, most of the people they are defending, most of them hate God. They hate Christianity. They hate the Bible. They just, like, they're very hateful towards religion overall. So I don't know. Yeah, love your enemies. At least that's, like, definitely the case. If it's true love, or if it's just grifting, or just trying to get power and just pleasing everyone, I don't know. Yeah, next topic. Next topic is Amazon and Walmart. A lot of workers on benefits, on food stamps. That's portrayed like that in the media a lot of times. I heard Chris Cuomo and all these people, oh, like, how dare they? But let's get to the full truth. The full truth about Amazon and Walmart having the most workers of all companies on food stamps. First of all, they're such huge companies that, of course, they will be the ones that have the most workers overall, not in percentage, on food stamps. But let's be honest, those are not real full-time jobs that are on food stamps most of the times. Those are easy, low-labor jobs, also not full-time jobs. And you should rather look at, some people carrying boxes for 20 hours back and forth, working for Amazon or Walmart. Are they paid the regular wage other people that do the same tasks are paid? So is it within the job description a fair pay if you compare it? Let's just say a fair pay for carrying boxes is $15 an hour, and they are paying $16. Then they're over average. So you can already say, like, what's the point, guys? Then it's also 2 to 3% of all of their workers, which is not as much. So most of the workers that are on food stamps are not full-time workers, and it's just between 2 to 3% as well. So we really have to look at the full truth of things. It is also seasonal employees, and newly hired workers without qualifications, or they don't get as much when they're within a kind of like an approval time, where you see if they're qualified enough to work, and then when they're actually hired, then they get more pay. So it also might be employees with low earning spouses, and therefore, or in really high living cost areas. So I just wanted to say that. I mean, there might be some that are underpaid still. I don't want to deny that, but I just want to clarify the actual picture and the actual state of affairs here, because those headlines seem very much like gaslighting towards just vilifying these two big companies, where I'm not the greatest fan of those companies, but they also do some good, and you all are using them. Be honest. You all order from Amazon, and at the same time you're like, oh, they're the worst. If you say that, then be consistent and don't order. But don't do all the things you say that are wrong and you're crying out and protesting against yourself, basically. You should just be honest. Be consistent. Don't be a hypocrite. And a lot of people are hypocrites when it comes to that. A lot of people. And real bad hypocrites. So the fair summary would be, yes, some political rhetoric exaggerates the claim by implying that large portions of Amazon and Walmart employees rely on food stamps. Yes, part-time seasonal employment explains some of the numbers, but still, the evidence does not support the idea that all or even most SNAP recipients of these companies are simply doing easy side jobs. So there's some truth to it, but see the whole picture and also the percentage of people. So it's 2 to 3% overall, and then a lot of them are on the latter two things I mentioned, and so that is the whole truth to it. Yeah, taxing the rich. That's one of these things. Like, tax the rich and everything will be great, and we will, be able to fund all these things like universal health care and whatnot. But people, why do so many people not like to pay taxes? Think of that. Because the government is so inefficient and there's such fraudulent fraudsters. And, you'd be like, where's my money actually going? So that's number one. Number two is the top 25% of taxpayers pay 87% of taxes. And the lower 50% of income of earners only pay 3% of the taxes. So we have a very, very progressive tax code that the lower 50% of earners only pay 3% of the total taxes. You think that's not fair? That sounds pretty fair to me. The unfair thing and the problem is not our tax revenue. We don't need more money. We do not. We need better spending. You know that there are things when in government contracts, they overpay for items, crazy amount, 100% fold amounts, like 900% markups on things like chairs or toilet seats or coffee makers. There was a coffee maker. There's like some very famous examples, but there was a coffee maker for $7,400. Like, you can get $30 coffee makers. There was a hammers they paid for $435, and there's a ladder they paid $70,000 for. That's just examples, but those are not that crazy outliers. Companies get, like, oftentimes contracts get out with like crazy markups compared to average. So when it comes to hardware, it's up to 500% that they pay on top. When it comes to commercial software licenses, 20 to 100% higher. When it comes to office furniture, like, that's oftentimes 100 to 900% markup. So the government is super ineffective in spending. It is, and this is from government oversight bodies, these numbers that I have. Those are not partisan third source numbers that I'm going to tell you now. So there's 186 billion a year in improper payments, meaning like markups and all that. And 233 to 500 billion dollars of estimated fraud losses. I'm just saying, Mr. Tim Walz, California, Leering Center, all that good stuff. NGOs getting paid out to basically do nothing. Government contracts, with products priced hundreds of percents above market rates. That is our problem. We would have so much more money if we wouldn't have that much fraud and markups to, basically pay back funding for political races. Guess why these big companies pay some guys millions of dollars for their political races? Because they know they will get it back. They will get some nice contracts or some regulations or some tax incentives like lowerings. It is bad. It is more corruption than anything. And you want to give these people more money to spend it to like nonsense things. Like a lot of government contracts and initiatives and institutions and a lot of these governmental programs are completely ineffective. And this inefficiency, that is our problem. Corruption, fraud, inefficiency. That is the problem of our government spending and of our government. And we don't need more tax revenue. We don't. And if we have more tax revenue, get where it's going to go. It's not going to go directly where it should. If you want to help poor people, it's better to to do something yourself than give it to the government. Because they're not going to be as effective as you. They're not. If you want to do good, then don't advocate for higher taxes. Yeah, build something. Build something. A good organization that's really nonprofit, that's really trying to help people, and that's really being effective. So building a company and building a product that people actually need will be way more beneficial to this country than any tax dollar. Any. Because you give people jobs, a future, purpose, income. They won't have to rely on the state. They won't have to take out of the system, but pay into the system. So that way you pay taxes anyways indirectly. Way better than raising taxes. And a lot of people in government have never been in the economy. They don't know and they don't care. All they want is power. And even if they don't, they're probably just bad at doing what they want to achieve. They don't know how to achieve what they would like to see in the world. That's also one thing. The opposing side is not always the enemy. They're just dumb sometimes and they don't know how to do it. It's not that they are always evil and they want to destroy the country. They just don't understand humans and economy. And so they live in their la-la land. They think everyone from a certain group is good and everyone from a certain group is bad. And probably turns out there's the same amount of good people in that group than in that group. Like your skin color doesn't make you better or worse. You know, amongst Mexicans, there's probably the same amount of bad people as amongst whites as amongst blacks. But for one side of the country, at least, they see it differently. They think white people are inherently bad or worse than blacks and than Mexicans and whatever, anything else. White people bad. I think all people are the same, and they probably are, genetically predisposed to the same degree to become bad. And in DNA, you can't even tell the skin color of someone. So, that's about that. So, oh yeah, this one's bad. Okay, let's play this first.
This is the Islamic Republic of New Yorkistan. Islam will be in every household. Inshallah, the whole world is Muslim. Welcome to Mamdani's New York. You see this city? You see how it looks? Inshallah, your city looks just like this too.
The Muslim takeover. People are hating America. And America, I still have to say it, man. Like, it's just the reality. Our Constitution and our founding fathers, they were all Christians. They mentioned God, and at the end, it's almost like a prayer in the Constitution to God that we might be blessed, and it is a constitution, and our laws are built on the Christian faith and the Christian morals. We are a Christian country, and if you want to live here, diversity is great and all, but there can't be a diversity in what you think is the law and should be the law and is rightful. And you can't be like, well, I think, this and that's allowed in my religion, so I don't care what your law says, America. I'll do what my religion tells me. I'm like, no. If you say so, go to where you have a religious state, you have a bunch of them, go to your state, your country, where your religion rules, and live there. If you don't agree with our rules. You don't like our rules? Goodbye. You like our rules? You can be diverse, you can bring your food, you can bring your culture, but there's certain things we have to align on to work in a society. And there's certain things where we do not want diversity. We do not want diversity in law, and in how we see the police, and how we respect the police, and how we respect human rights, how we respect women's rights. We do not want diversity in that. Sorry, bye-bye. And we just have to say it like that. And I'm not afraid to say it like that. I mean, if you don't agree with what I just said, you have a ching, like there's something wrong in your head. It just doesn't work. Just lower it down to another level. In your family, if you have a household and your kid's like, I don't care about your rules. I just read this book and I live by the rules of that book and not the rules of you, Daddy. It's like, is that household going to work? No. So then are you going to invite someone over? Someone that teaches that false book to your son to come into your house and live there? No, because it won't work. There can't be a diversity in law in your house and rules. There's the dad, and the dad says how the house is going to work. And these are the rules, or the parents, the leaders of the household. And we can't allow other people in that are fighting it and be like, yeah, cool, be our guest, live in our house. You don't like what we're doing here, but it's going to be totally fine. It's not going to be totally fine. All right? All right. So, can't have that happen. I mean, I'm just bummed. Like, what is happening in our society with, just look at this. I'm not going to show the video because it'll be over 18, and then you have to, I don't want that on YouTube, so I'll just show you this picture here. But essentially what happens is that these 4 kids, and unfortunately they're all black, nothing against blacks, maybe it's, I don't know, I just wonder what is going on with these parents of these people. Like, when I was a kid, of course I did bad things and I broke the law, but I was always fearful and respectful when it comes to cops. Like, I would never mistreat a cop. I'd be deadly afraid not to be at my very best behavior in front of a cop. I'm afraid for the laws to be implemented upon me and to, have my parents in trouble, if anyone in trouble. I'm deadly afraid. And these kids are not. And why aren't they? Because apparently they can do whatever they want and they're just going to get released. And they seemingly know about it. So they're just like, oh, let's just beat up this cop. and then they're going to be taken into custody, and they're probably just going to be released again. Like these people in California and everywhere where you could just steal stuff. If it was below $1,000 worth, they would just let you go if they catch you. But they won't even catch you. They won't even hinder you. They would just hold the doors open for you. Here you go. And at the end of the day, people locked up their CVS shelves. I mean, it's just nuts. In Germany, you can, for example, you fill your gas tank up, you could just drive away. You could just fill it up and drive away. You don't have to insert a card before, like a credit card or a debit card, before you get the gasoline out. It would just come out. And if you drive away, you can just steal it. Because at least that's still going to work. A few years, it's going to be the same in Germany too, because too many people will be stealing gasoline. And then there's that, and then it's over with that. But you see how that gets worse and worse and worse in our society. Everything gets more locked up. You could easily get things, steal things before, but no one did it because you just didn't do it. And if so, that it was one day out of 5 years that this would happen to, I don't know, some gas station where someone would steal something. And now it's just so bad. And it's how kids are raised. They're just people don't care. They just want to be best friends with their kids. That's even almost the best case scenario. Or they just don't care for their kids. They just let them rot there. They just let them get fat and play video games and don't care for them and don't talk to them. And then oh, my kid that my kid didn't do that. Yeah, sure it did, because you neglected your kid like crazy. Even just letting your kid get crazy fat is just big neglect. How can you care that little? Your kid can't move, dude. Do you love your kid? You want your kid to be healthy if you love your kid. You don't want your kid to run around and be fat. And run around and be fat, yeah, that's kind of a contradiction. It won't run around because it's fat. There was just a kid that died, and the parents were kind of accused of, murder, because it was an 8-year-old kid and 300 pounds fat, and it died. I don't know if with 8 or 9, like a kid. And it's yeah, they didn't kill it, but they killed it. You know what I mean? It's how can you just not care at all? A lot of people don't even care for themselves, okay, but that's on you, But someone else that you're supposed to love, and it's way easier to tell someone else not to eat shit than do it yourself, because it's not you who has to go through it. So it is terrible, terrible, terrible. And what's happening right now in the world is just, I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it. Also talk about one more thing. I saw Senator Kennedy was on, so not Secretary Kennedy, Senator Kennedy. I heard his accent was fake. I don't know if that's true. Apparently some of his college friends from back then said he had no accent, zero. But he was on Theo Vaughn, and the wildest thing that he claimed was, he did kind of whataboutism. Yeah, so that's just gonna happen, that kills are gonna, die somehow. And I don't want anyone to die. I hate that. But that's just happening. And do you think that they care if our children die when they attack us? But that doesn't make it right. Or if people, if we get attacked and our children die, that doesn't justify killing random children in the same area. You don't even kill the perpetrator's children because you don't know. You just kill anyone that's from the same area. That's like punishing, and it's even worse, it's like punishing the family of the killer for the killer's crimes. It's like, just gonna kill his sister and his daughter and his mom and his friends. You know? Sure. But the wild thing was that he said he does not want to belong to a religion that advocates for killing people. And at the same time, he's advocating for killing people. Like in the sentence before. You're like, dude, do you just realize how you contradict yourself? Kind of wild. And the comments on the podcast were very positive. I was very surprised. I don't know if they maybe deleted others, and Theo Vaughn was usually on the opposing side, so he challenged him a little bit. It wasn't too bad. I think Theo Vaughn did an okay job. He's obviously not a political figure or debater, so for that it was pretty good. So he didn't really let him get away with everything. And but he then let it go and went on to the next thing. But he was kind of argumenting and bringing up, like, his people in the background are really good. They're just bringing up some facts when the guy speaks, so they can't just be yeah. And he was not very, like, Senator Kennedy. You could also see that he was actually, maybe it was just political, that he did not really convincingly took a side. It's like, yeah, some people think that, I'll tell you the other side. I think that, but it is such a dividing topic that he might not want to be too much advocating for the side he's actually on, to not face too much backlash, because he probably knows that he's not really on the right side with, like, advocating to kill people all the time, and that we have a problem with too much foreign influence. I mean, I don't know how you can deny it at this point. Like, there's no other country that funds so many political races and that has a PAC that's not registered as a foreign agency. And it's like, there's no other country. And there's no other country, especially of that size. Dude, my home country of Austria, I'm half Austrian, half German. They have kind of the same amount of residents like Israel. Austria has nothing to say. They don't even have a half pack. They don't have one lobbyist anywhere. But a country of the same size, basically 95% of Congress are, like, bought somewhat. This is a little wild. It's a little wild. Like, however great that influence actually is, this is kind of sus. No other country. And a country that has a surplus for 3 years gets presents from us, where we are in crazy debt. I don't know how that makes sense. You tell me. Yeah, so Romans 9:6. The descendants of Israel are not by flesh, but by the promise. So think about that. We're all the children of Abraham who give our life to Christ and who commit our lives and live in with true faith and try to better ourselves in our actions every day. And I hope you do so. I hope you will all pray your prayers, ask for forgiveness, repent, and reflect on what you should repent for. What are you struggling with? Talk through those things to God. And yeah, He might talk back to you in what happens to you. So be mindful Watch what happens around you. Observe. Listen. Don't put on the noise all the time. Be in quiet and listen. Take some time to listen. And let me know who you would like me to invite on the podcast to talk to, in person or not in person. Maybe you know political or Christian figures in Vegas. Other people I would get online, of course, as well. I reached out to 2 people so far. Let's see. But I need to reach out to more. I would like to collab with a bunch of people. So let me know who I should collab with. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let me know your opinions on all the topics. Let me know where I'm wrong, where I'm right, how you see the world. I am not always wrong and right on everything. So I hope I am. But I lay down why I think what I think. So please don't insult me. If you disagree, tell me where you disagree and why. If you come with an insult, not an argument, I will just regard it as that's not a debate. That's bad faith. And that rather makes me think that I'm right, not that I'm wrong. Because you present no argument, you just insult me. And that sounds like you're ideologically biased. All right? Please subscribe, like, share it with all your friends that should hear this, that might benefit from this in some way, shape, or form, or be entertained. Have a good one, guys. Let me know what topics to cover, also Christian topics, and see you on the next one.